Hi, it's Lipstick Gal. Thanks so much for watching today. I wanted to do a whole video on illuminating products that aren't highlighter. All right, I wanted to also showcase one of my favorite illuminating powders. I just repurchased this. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you haven't. And let me tell you about why I love illuminating products. I'll be 45 in January, and I find that the older I get, despite the fact that I exfoliate my face with an acid exfoliating mask once a week. Sometimes I use a kind of a gommage gel type of exfoliator once a week in the shower. I don't want to over exfoliate. I feel like it does help to lift away a lot of the dead skin cells. So I do as much as I can by keeping my face happy by making sure that it's exfoliated. But there is also just a lack of illumination. I remember when I was younger, I felt like my face just glowed. When it was hydrated, it just looked like a beaming, shining, happy face. And the older I get, I can get to that place, but it takes a little bit more work. Now, this is just my opinion, but I feel like what I'm missing from what I used to have in my youth was that natural, beautiful glow. And I feel like when I wear a little bit less overall makeup, I'm able to achieve that same glowing skin, but I do have to incorporate certain types of products to get to that point. All right, so before we put the powder on today, I feel like I'm rolling up my sleeves. I hate this sweater. I don't know why I still have it. It's got kind of bell sleeves and they drive me insane. So give me a sec. What I have on my face today is a combination of Charlotte Tilbury's Hollywood Flawless Filter. I didn't really use it as a primer. I rolled the applicator on the back of my hand to get some of the product off. I used a good amount of the Light Wonder Youth Boosting Skin Foundation. I used that. I used shade 1 in both of these and a half a pump of the Double Wear from Estee Lauder. So I get the glow from this and I get a little bit of longevity from this. This is what I'm wearing today. It's from Flower Beauty. This is their Light Illusion. It says full coverage concealer. For someone who has dark circles, I wouldn't say it's full coverage. It does give you good coverage. There are a limited number of shades for this. I feel like this is on the verge of being just a little too dark. I love the consistency. I love the formula. They need more shades, but this is what I'm wearing today. I wanted to try something today, and this is where I tell you this is the third time I've purchased this product. And it's $60. It's like I really waited and waited and waited and waited until I really wanted to try it again. It's this. It's the Lancome Absolue Powder. So I live in a very small town. My local Macy's is the size of a postage stamp. And my Macy's has 3 makeup counters. It has Clinique, Estee Lauder, and Lancome. And my Lancome lady does not sell this powder, doesn't even have samples of this powder because it's not a product that they sell a lot of. They'll have your mascara, they'll have your lipstick, they'll have some eyeshadow, but they don't carry the full Lancome line because they really don't sell a lot of it there. And so I would always go in and try and look for this, and I would never have any samples to try. I would never have nothing. So I've always been looking at the color swatches on either the Macy's website or the Lancome website, and they both are exactly the same. And they're both wildly inaccurate. So the first shade I bought was Pearl. And if you're looking at it, Pearl looks by the color swatch like it's the lightest. It's really dark. I purchased another one and I don't remember what the name of it was. Doesn't matter. So the shade I have now is called Absolue Peche. So this is a peachy shade. I don't know that it doesn't really look that peachy. Oh, now I have it all over my sweater. But it looks more like a neutral based translucent. The Pearl leaned very peach, almost an orangey peach, and the other one I had leaned very yellow. This one is more neutral, and I think I would have probably purchased this one the first time around had I been able to look at it, feel it, and swatch it. I'm going to make sure to tap out my under eyes to make sure none of my concealer has settled where I don't want it. And then I'm going to use a small brush and I'm just going to lightly pat this all over the face. Oh, it's a very brightening powder. I've decided for the rest of my face, I'm going to press them into this powder puff. This is a Laura Mercier powder puff. So I just put a little bit in the middle. I fold it in half on itself and kind of rub it in. This is something that I've seen a lot of makeup artists do and talk about. But the first person I ever saw do this was like, oh, that's a great idea, was Wayne Goss. So thank you, Wayne Goss, but I know a lot of people do this. It's very much a professional makeup artist trick. And then I'm just going to pat all over the rest of my face. This powder does come with this little teeny tiny puff from Lancome that actually fits inside here, but it's so tiny. Unless I was doing my under eyes, I really don't see how it would be that helpful. I'm gonna put on the rest of my face and we're gonna talk about the rest of the glowy powders that I have. When I look at my face, I think what's the most surprising about this powder is that I'm not wearing highlight. And I feel like I've got a nice, beautiful, subtle glow all over my face, but it doesn't look like a stripe of highlight because it's kind of highlighting everywhere. Now, out of all the highlighty or the illuminating powders, this one here is the strongest. You get the most glow from it. And it does really, if you were to use it just on the tops of your cheekbones or just on the bridge of your nose, you would definitely get that highlighted look, but it would be much more of a natural look. So I've swatched 3 different things for you and I've turned the lights down low so you can get a good look at them. And I feel like this is a better way to turning lights down, you know, when beauty lights are up really, really high, it kind of gets rid of all of the imperfections. And I feel like this is a great way for you to see, which would be a lot closer to natural everyday light, what this looks like. It's still glowy, it's still highlighty, but it is definitely not the same. So I have 2 highlights swatched and I have the Lancome powder. This right here, you can see it, it's very metallic. It's the new Benefit single of the shade Cookie. Right in the middle, this more golden tone here is the Amrezy and Anastasia Beverly Hills highlight, a very popular highlight. And then right here, you can see there is some illumination to it, but it is not nearly as much. That's the Lancome Absolue Powder. So you do get that glow, but you won't find these highly metallic stripes on your face. And I feel like as I get older, as my skin doesn't have that same natural glow that I see in my really youthful, gorgeous daughters who are 9 and 11, their cheeks just, I mean, their skin is perfection. I feel like these are great, but the older I get, the more sparingly I apply them, the more carefully I place them, because I do have crow's feet here. I do have some 11s coming in right here. I frequently also do a figure 8 around my eyes with whatever residual highlighter there is, which is fine, but then I am hitting this section here and a little bit here. And that's a technique that I've used for a long time, and I always like the way that it makes my eyes look a little bit bigger, look a little bit glowier without looking like really, like it doesn't look like there's an actual figure 8 around my eyes. It just looks like there's highlight, you know, a little bit of light above the brows, a little bit of light on the tops of the cheekbones. You get a little bit here on the bridge of the nose. I really like that, but I feel like when I use one of these significantly stronger highlights, if I'm not careful, I end up looking either like the Tin Man or I end up looking really, really overdone. There are a few other glowy powders that I absolutely love. And I don't know that I would say glowy, but they impart a luminosity to the skin. One of them is the Hourglass Veil Setting Powder. I do see that I'm running low on this powder. This powder is beautiful. This is one on the days that I feel like I've put on too much traditional highlight, that I take this and I buff it over the top, and it kind of brings down the intensity, but it also does impart just a little bit of glow. And on days, this is definitely not nearly as illuminating as the Lancome powder, but this one is beautiful and it does make your skin look like skin. Another one that I like a lot, I know that this is one that doesn't work for everybody based on skin sensitivity, is the Charlotte Tilbury Magic Powder. I love this powder for the face. I don't really care for it under the eyes, but I do like it all over the face. And it does have that little bit of luminosity to it. I feel like it's just a hair more illuminating than this, but it's nowhere near the wattage that you get from the Absolute powder. All 3 of these are very high-end powders. You get 13 grams in the Charlotte Tilbury, you get 10.5 in the Veil, and you get 10 in the Lancome Absolue. There are some other powders that I have tried, less successful. I have a small sample of the Laura Mercier. This is the translucent setting powder, but it's illuminating. And this is one where it's very, very illuminating. I feel like I can actually see little teeny tiny pieces of sparkle on my skin. And I don't find that I have that where you can kind of pinpoint little pieces of sparkle on my skin when I'm using any of these three right here. I feel like they give me that luminosity without like, ooh, is that baby glitter on your face? Another one that I really like that is at a less expensive price point is this. This is from Flower Beauty. It's their Miracle Glow Satin Finishing Powder. So it's not anywhere near as illuminating, but it does have a slight luminosity. It is a very nice powder. The packaging is super bulky, but I do feel like it's a very, very lovely powder. This one leans a little bit more on the slightly pinky side, but it doesn't make my skin look like I have on a layer of like ghost face, like cake on there. It's not like too white. It's really nice. Another one that I really like that is probably the least illuminating of all of them. It's another drugstore option that's absolutely beautiful. It's from Milani. This is the Prep Set and Glow. And this is the shade 2. It's pressed. And if you're looking at it, it doesn't look like it's that illuminating, but it keeps my face from looking like a flat matte. And I know there are a lot of other products that I have tried. I know that there's pressed powder from MAC that makes my face look flat. There's a lot of loose powders that make my face look flat. It loses all dimension. And this is one that I could very easily use under the eyes, all over the face, and I never feel like I'm left completely flat and dry looking. So if you're looking for a less expensive, kind of slightly illuminating powder, I mean, this is just the slightest bit illuminating. This one is really nice and at a nice price point. Another one that was a fail for me was from Sydney Grace. This is their Cloud 9 setting powder. This is supposed to have some mica in it, and I can never find the mica in this, like not to save my life. It just looks like a white high definition powder. It's extremely finely milled. It works nice under the eyes as long as you don't use too much, but I never, ever, ever see any of the mica in this. And maybe because I haven't tried their other setting powder, maybe I would be able to notice that. But I feel like if you're looking at this to kind of give you some glow, it never has imparted any discernible amount of glow when I'm using it. So I know that illuminating powders really have a lot to do with the type of skin that you have, because I know that my mom, who's in her late 60s but has oily skin, would never, not in her life, put one of these powders on her face. She would rather go without powder than to powder with something like this. I feel like this is better for normal to dry. I do have combination skin. It tends to be more normal during the fall and winter and more combination during the spring and summer, especially during the summer because I have a lot of oils that come through on my nose and there's a lot of makeup and breaking up that happens in that general vicinity, sometimes even chin and forehead. But I love these, and sometimes I'll use these just on the perimeters of my face, and I won't take them anywhere past the arch of my brow. I usually highlight like my entire forehead, my cheeks, my chin, my cupid's bow, my just like it's like shiny everywhere. But I feel like with a powder like this, because I already put that down first, I feel like it gives a really nice, beautiful, healthy glow. It is obviously artificial, but it's not as artificial as those stripes of super hyper metallic that you would get from a traditional powder highlight. So let me know, are these sorts of things of interest to you? Are these things you've ever done or tried? Does this putting a glowy powder all over your face, is it something that you would do? Are you interested in? I love the way it makes my skin look. It brings a youth and a vibrancy that I feel the older I get, the farther and farther I'm moving away from. So I do everything I can in my skincare and then in my makeup to kind of get me back to that point. Thank you so much for watching today. Let me know if you have a favorite powder, whether it's a matte powder or a glowy powder, and what sorts of things you're looking for in your powder products. Subscribe if you haven't. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.